Hello everyone and welcome to another IDTechEx webinar. My name is Conrad Nichols and I'm a technology analyst here at the company. Today I'm going to be speaking about long duration energy storage and picking out some of the key narratives and trends from this market. This draws insight from our brand new market report. Before I dive into the contents of the report, I would just like to let those of you who may not already be so familiar with IDTechEx know what exactly it is we do. So since 1999, IDTechEx has provided independent market research consultancy and subscriptions on emerging technology to clients in over 80 countries. And this includes technology assessments and scouting, company profiling, market sizing and forecasts, and strategic advice over a broad range of topics, including electric vehicles and energy storage, 3D printing, 5G, 6G, food and agri-tech, photonics, sustainability, and much, much more. IDTechEx offers three key services to its customers, and this includes off-the-shelf reports, subscriptions, and consulting services. Our reports aim to include technology appraisals and market opportunities and requirements, including sizing of the market and forecasts as well. We also aim to include multiple company profiles where we will have interviewed companies either at conferences or online. Performing these interviews helps us to gain the latest insights into a particular company, technology, or market, with data that may not be so readily available online. One of the key services mentioned are our subscriptions, and what this gives you access to is a certain number of reports per year and also access to our portal, which will give you access to company profiles and premium articles, which are essentially smaller pieces of content that allow you to gain more frequent updates into a particular market or industry. Subscriptions could also give you access to analyst time, which is where you would have opportunities to ask us questions about a certain report or topic. For more information, please get in touch with someone from our team at our website www.idtechx.com. So now I'm going to be diving into the contents of the report for the remainder of this webinar. And I'm going to be giving an introduction to long duration energy storage, and I'm going to be referring to this as LDES for this webinar, and the market timing of LDES, when we're going to need it and why we'll need it. We're giving a brief technology overview and also discussing some of the applications, customers that will use LDES technologies, and some of the revenue generation challenges, opportunities, and solutions that could be coming about in the near future. So firstly, to give a brief introduction to long duration energy storage, the what, the why, and the when. There is no strict definition as to what constitutes long duration energy storage and is generally poorly defined in the market. And for instance, the US Department of Energy defines this as energy storage with a minimum 10 hours duration of storage. IDTechEx defines this as energy storage with a duration of 6 hours or greater. Above 6 hours of storage, this is when lithium-ion batteries start to become less economically viable for deployment, and many of the other competing energy storage technologies start to become or are cheaper than lithium-ion on a $ per kilowatt hour basis. As the penetration of variable renewable energy sources increases in national electricity grids, as will the need to manage greater fluctuating supply of energy over longer timeframes. And this is where LDES technologies will be useful in dispatching energy over these longer timeframes when energy supply from these intermittent sources of energy is not occurring. And so variable renewable energy, or VRE, would typically refer to solar or wind energy. What these graphs show is that as the share of VRE increases in the electricity generation mix for a particular state or country, the energy storage or power requirements will increase, but this is not a linear increase. And generally speaking, around the 45 to 50% mark of share of VRE in the electricity generation mix, this is when long duration energy storage technologies are going to start being in more demand. The reason for this is that the duration or average duration of storage requirement in a particular country or state is going to be 6 hours or greater. And this, as I said, is where lithium-ion starts to become less economically viable for deployment, and other technologies potentially offer cheaper solutions. So when will LDES be in demand truly? And so the graph below takes a trajectory for the electricity generated by VRE across a global average. And from these calculations, it will not be until around 2037 where VRE forms 45% of the electricity generation mix globally. There will of course be key regions who may reach this electricity generation percentage from VRE sooner than 2037, and therefore while demand for LDES technologies is expected to accelerate in the mid-2030s, demand is expected to increase for LDES technologies in key regions, potentially in the late 2020s and early 2030s. Especially up to the end of this decade, we're going to see an increasing number of pilot and small-scale demonstration and even commercial-scale deployments of LDES technologies in key regions as well. Looking at some of the historic data, some key regions with the greatest share of electricity generated from VRE in 2020 include Germany, the UK, Italy, Australia, and US states including Texas and California. All these countries and states saw above 15% electricity generated from VRE in 2020. And as grids in these regions will see a greater electricity generation mix of VRE sooner than other regions, these are the regions likely to be some of the earlier adopters of LDES technologies. As well as this, India is also expected to be a key country as well, expected to be an early adopter of LDES technologies. These key countries and states' governments have set out rather aggressive VRE deployment targets, and if these are met, this will give rise to the approximate percentage of electricity generated by VRE in 2035 shown in the table on the right. As a reminder, once approximately 45% of electricity generation comes from VRE, 6 hours average duration of storage will be required to support this most cost optimally for the electricity system, and therefore we can expect LDES deployments to be coming in the early 2030s in some of these key regions, and namely, this is likely to include Germany, the UK and California, with Italy, Texas, India and Australia to follow thereafter in the late 2030s and early 2040s. For more detail on LDES deployments by region, by technology and by market value, please refer to our market report, where you'll be able to find granular 20-year market forecasts up to 2044. I'll now be jumping in and discussing a bit about the technologies that are going to be emerging in the LDES market. A great variety of LDES technologies are being developed across key regions, and this includes electrochemical, mechanical, thermal and hydrogen storage, and these classifications can be further segmented into specific technologies detailed here on this slide. While, due to the current lack of commercial scale deployments of these LDES technologies, it is difficult to pinpoint which technologies will be most economical to deploy, factors such as round-trip efficiency, cycle life or lifetime, and energy density will be key factors which influence the success of these technologies in the market. In the long term, mechanical energy storage systems are likely to be a key contributor to LDES in the long term, given that these systems become more economical to deploy at 100 plus megawatts and longer durations of storage. In the cases of liquid air energy storage and or liquid carbon dioxide energy storage and underground pumped hydro storage, it is possible to expand the capacity and thus duration of storage of such systems after initial commissioning, presenting another advantage. Moreover, some developers of these systems are already looking to deploy gigawatt-hour scale systems by 2030. Other systems which will make up increasing market share over the next few decades includes iron air batteries, rechargeable zinc batteries such as zinc air and static zinc bromine batteries, redox flow batteries, thermal and electrothermal energy storage. Battery storage players include Form Energy, developing iron air batteries, and developers of zinc air batteries including Zinc 8 Energy and eZinc. These players are mostly in pilot or early commercial stages of development. These technologies will benefit from the use of low-cost materials, although the lower round-trip efficiencies of these technologies in the range of around 40 to 60% may also see them used for lower throughput applications such as backup power. Otherwise, these technologies will be more reliant on reaching very low capital costs and or require significant levels of variable renewable energy penetration to be suitable for LDES applications. As of November 2023, around $4 billion has been invested into companies developing LDES technologies, including funding from private, public and government financing. The technologies which have seen the most substantial funding includes iron air and static zinc bromine batteries, thermal energy storage, redox flow batteries and compressed air energy storage. It is certain that total funding is indeed higher, as some funding received by companies see undisclosed amounts and some larger companies may be funneling revenues from other parts of the business into developing these technologies. Several energy storage technologies being developed benefit from being able to have their energy capacity and power output decoupled and thus scaled independently. This results in capex on a dollar per kilowatt hour basis to decrease more quickly and more non-linearly at longer durations of storage than lithium-ion batteries. To create a larger lithium-ion system, multiple smaller units would need to be packaged together, and for instance this could be multiple containerized lithium-ion battery systems to give a cumulative capacity in the gigawatt-hour scale. This makes lithium-ion batteries less feasible from an economic perspective for LDES applications, especially at longer durations of storage. One of the key example technologies which can benefit from decoupled energy and power are RFBs, or redox flow batteries, shown here on the slide. Electrolyte storage tanks and electrolyte volumes only require increasing when increasing the duration of storage of the system. The number of cell stacks can remain the same for a given power output. Mechanical energy storage systems can also benefit from independent scaling of energy and power. To increase the energy capacity and thus storage duration of these systems, the size of the reservoirs for underground pumped hydro storage and compressed air energy storage to store water or air, and the tanks for storing liquid air for liquid air energy storage can be increased. As mentioned, there are many considerations that need to be made from a technical perspective as well, which will determine the success of these technologies in the long term. IDTechEx has gathered data for metrics including capex, round-trip efficiency, cycle life or lifetime, and energy density for the technologies shown in the left-hand column. There is no single technology that is advantageous across every metric, and therefore a range of LDES technologies are expected to be deployed over the coming decades. A key factor will indeed be, in reality, demonstrating reduced capital costs of these systems at longer durations of storage, at least on a dollar per kilowatt hour basis, to demonstrate their benefit over lithium-ion. But this is dependent on the increasing penetration of variable renewable energy, which will then create the demand for these other technologies. Moreover, suspected lithium-ion material constraints coming towards the end of the decade and the safety risks of lithium-ion batteries are expected to be the other key factors driving demand for other energy storage technologies generally. For further information and benchmarking of these LDES technologies, please refer to the Long Duration Energy Storage Market Report by IDTechEx. And while I've said that most of the demand for LDES technologies is going to be coming in some key regions in the 2030s before accelerating globally later in the 2030s and 2040s, there are some projects that are being deployed at a commercial scale by 2031, and generally a trend of increasing longer duration commercial scale projects are going to be coming towards the back end of this decade than before 2025. And most of these projects that have been announced up to 2031 are for 8+ hours duration of storage, and this includes systems such as iron air batteries, compressed air energy storage, electrothermal energy storage, liquid carbon dioxide energy storage, and underground pumped hydro energy storage. This analysis below omits data where a project's duration of storage or if either megawatt and megawatt hour data is unknown. While LDES technologies will be useful in storing and supplying energy over longer durations, these are not a silver bullet, and various technologies will be needed to maximize grid stability and flexibility as the volume of VRE penetration increases. Grid operators need to be able to adapt to changes in electricity supply and demand on the grid quickly and efficiently, and as the volume of VRE penetrating grids increases, as do the frequency and magnitude of fluctuations of electricity supply and demand, making grid flexibility more important. The grid must also be maintained between a narrow frequency range, and energy and storage resources can provide load following services, rapidly changing their output to contribute to frequency regulation. Without maintaining frequencies between a certain range, this can cause damage to electrical equipment, as well as transmission system operators risking losing their transmission license if this occurs too often. If electricity supply exceeds demand, this can lead to variable renewable energy being curtailed, which is a loss of useful energy and can also increase energy generation costs, as generators are not remunerated for curtailed energy. And therefore, there is a need to manage both supply and demand side grid flexibility to ensure stable supply and demand and frequency, which can be achieved through various means shown here on this slide. Supply side flexibility refers to electricity generators being able to change their output or respond to changes in demand quickly, and this could include the use of natural gas or traditional power plants, combined heat and power plants, thermal plants, or bioenergy with carbon capture and storage plants. Energy storage systems, vehicle-to-grid, and interconnectors could also be used to help promote supply-side flexibility. Demand-side flexibility refers to electricity consumers increasing their electricity use to offtake electricity from the grid, and this could include commercial and industrial users using behind-the-meter energy storage systems, adjusting their commercial process to offtake more electricity, or using heat pumps, for example. Residential users could use energy management systems with battery energy storage systems or heat pumps with thermal storage to offtake electricity, and green hydrogen production could also be ramped up to use surplus electricity and generate hydrogen. EVs could also be charged at times of peak electricity supply, and interconnectors could also be used by countries which experience a deficit in electricity supply over a certain period of time. This report from IDTechEx details these technologies in more detail, so please refer to this report if you wish to learn more. I'll now start discussing some of the key applications, customers, revenue generation mechanisms, challenges, and potential solutions for LDES technologies. LDES technologies are almost wholly going to be used for grid-scale applications to store and supply variable renewable energy over longer timeframes. These technologies will also be beneficial in deferring transmission and distribution systems, peaker plants, and relieving electricity transmission congestion. These technologies could also be used to provide ancillary services to the grid, including frequency regulation, load following, voltage control, and more. It is unlikely that these systems will be used by commercial, industrial, or residential customers, especially in the case of mechanical energy storage systems, due to the larger aerial footprints compared to lithium-ion and higher upfront capital costs on a $ per kilowatt-hour basis for smaller systems. Commercial-scale energy storage systems discussed in this report are primarily being designed for LDES applications, and key customers looking to procure or use these LDES systems include utility companies, renewable energy developers, and potentially off-grid mining companies too. Utilities will look to use LDES technologies to shift energy over longer timeframes. This will become more important as more variable renewable energy comes online and variability and uncertainty in energy supply increases. Long-duration energy storage tenders are slowly emerging across key regions including the US, Australia, India, and Europe. These tenders either directly or indirectly mandate that storage is provided alongside the renewable energy generation resource, and therefore renewables developers that may be bidding into these tenders will be looking to procure LDES systems or projects as part of the bid. However, these LDES tenders are generally only looking for installations or commissioning to occur at around the 2030 mark, and as such, there is less demand for this in the short term. As for customers operating in off-grid mining, these companies could use large LDES systems that rely less on underground infrastructure, and for example, this could be liquid air energy storage. These systems could reduce the need for diesel generators or batteries, helping to reduce mining costs and/or reducing a mine's emissions that would stem from using diesel generators. Some mining facilities could last decades, and as such, these customers could benefit from technologies like liquid air energy storage where system lifetime is expected to be 30+ years. Whereas, for example, lithium-ion batteries may only last for roughly 10 years if cycled daily, and so would require replacing midway through a mining project's lifetime, increasing costs. While no LDES projects for off-grid miners are official, this market has been stipulated by a few key players in interviews with IDTechEx. There are three key sources of revenues that can be generated from owning and using LDES technologies, stemming from price arbitrage, capacity market or resource adequacy contracts, and ancillary service provision. Wholesale electricity price arbitrage refers to buying electricity when prices are lower to charge systems and selling electricity when prices are higher when discharging systems. However, arbitrage opportunities are generally not frequent or large enough in the current day alone to make a strong economic case for deploying and owning an LDES system. However, as the penetration of VRE increases, this will create greater and more frequent swings in electricity supply and therefore electricity prices. In the long term, price arbitrage is expected to be a growing contributor to revenue generation for LDES owners. The capacity market is a mechanism used to ensure that there is a reliable and secure supply of electricity generation capacity available to meet electricity demand. It is designed to address the intermittency and unpredictability of certain types of power generation such as solar and wind, which may not always be able to provide dispatchable power. The capacity market provides a financial incentive for power generators to maintain or increase their capacity, thus ensuring grid reliability. The capacity market allows existing and new build generators to compete for contracts at auction, which, at least in the UK, can vary from 1 to 15 years. Payments are made to generators not for the electricity they deliver, but for the availability to provide capacity at times of peak demand. New build generators can win 15-year contracts in the T4 auction, which provides a longer-term revenue and investment security. However, capacity market contracts do not necessarily recognise the other values that storage brings, and therefore redesigns to capacity remuneration mechanisms or contracts could be made by regulators to recognise these benefits, and these benefits could include storage's contribution to electricity price reduction, support for renewable growth, and provision of system services. As mentioned, LDES technologies could be used for providing ancillary services to the grid. However, many challenges are faced in this market. Firstly, these services could easily be provided by a shorter duration lithium-ion battery system, and so LDES asset owners will be in competition with lithium-ion owners for these contracts. But energy storage systems could be used for providing different services, allowing asset owners to stack revenues. However, contracts from different services cannot always be stacked effectively, increasing the complexity of revenue stacking. For example, a storage system could be scheduled for arbitrage, charging, say, in the morning when demand for electricity is lower and electricity prices are lower, and discharging when prices are higher later in the day. However, if an energy storage owner wanted to stack the storage system for price arbitrage with firm frequency response, this could be difficult during times of low electricity demand during charging, as this is when frequency response requirements are higher. Therefore, discharging to provide firm frequency response services would reduce the revenues gained from potential price arbitrage, therefore causing a clash in revenue opportunity. Moreover, ancillary services are procured separately, and these services cannot always be provided separately by energy storage technologies, and for instance, some mechanical energy storage systems provide grid inertia. If a project has won a contract for one service but not another, and these services can't be separated, the energy storage asset owner will not be fully remunerated for the range of services provided. Ultimately, clearer regulations need to be created or reformed to handle complex revenue stacking scenarios, to ensure LDES asset owners are fairly remunerated for the various services their technology can provide, and to provide them with longer term revenue visibility too. To summarise, long duration energy storage technologies will be in greater demand in key regions by the mid-2030s in order to support growing variable renewable energy penetration. Demand will accelerate in the late 2030s, and wider demand globally will only be seen post-2040. There are several factors which will drive growth for the LDES market, and this includes increasing penetration of VRE in key regions, potential future material constraints and existing safety risks of lithium-ion batteries. Revenue generation from LDES technologies can come from various sources, and the decoupling of energy and power present opportunities for lower upfront costs than lithium-ion at longer durations for many of the LDES technologies discussed in this report. There are also opportunities for these technologies to be procured by different customers, including utilities companies, renewables developers, and off-grid mining companies. However, there are several key challenges that need to be overcome for the LDES market to fulfill its full potential. And firstly, this includes revenue generation challenges as discussed just now, including the lack of substantial price arbitrage opportunities currently, and potential need for reforms to capacity market contracts and ancillary service remuneration. Demand for LDES technologies is heavily going to be influenced by VRE penetration, and governments therefore meeting their VRE deployment targets. And also, and very importantly, cost reductions which have been stipulated of these key LDES technologies have not been widely demonstrated commercially yet, due to the lack of demand for LDES technologies in the current day. Time will tell if these cost reductions will actually be realised. As a quick and final reminder, this new market report from IDTechEx also includes granular market forecasts by key country and US state, LDES technology, and value in US billion dollars for the period 2022 to 2044. Thank you very much for your time and attention today. If you're interested in purchasing this report or a subscription in which this report could be included, please get in touch with someone from our team by emailing them at research@idtechex.com. Thank you very much.